Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We've just seen Tyson Fury defeat Makhmudov, a very lopsided, unanimous decision in favour of Tyson Fury. Following the fight, he calls out Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua also sat ringside, so he was able to do some interviews as well. We're going to talk about that. I want to talk about the fights first. Before this fight card happened during the week, I said I was surprised for this being a Tyson Fury card that the hype wasn't really around it. There wasn't a lot of talk around this fight card, and after seeing the fight card, I can see why. It was very bad. It wasn't the best fight card you're ever going to watch. You're probably never going to go back and watch any of those fights. There wasn't really any there that impressed. If you were going to pick probably the fight of the night, you'd probably go on Justis, Huni, Frazier, Clark. I think that might have been just about the best one. We had two fights there. The Richard Riakporhe one versus Jamie TKV and Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov, which, later today I'm watching Jiri Prochazka take on Carlos Ulberg in the UFC. So I expect a lot of wrestling there. I didn't expect there to be two wrestling matches on the boxing card. So that was very surprising and very underwhelming, both of those fights. Conor Benn, lopsided victory over Regis Prograis, but wasn't the most compelling action. That's the one that I thought was really going to be the entertainment one, but it was very one-sided in favor of Conor Benn. And we're going to talk about all the fights. Let's start with Tyson Fury and Arslanbek Makhmudov, because that was the main event. But first, if you could all head down the bottom now, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave all your thoughts in the comments below. All right, let's start with Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. Very, very lopsided, like I said. 119 to 109, 120 to 108, 120 to 108, all in favor of Tyson Fury. And Makhmudov, he looked okay for the first round. That's probably the only round that they gave him. I didn't see him do enough in any other rounds. To be fair, he really didn't do a lot in the first round. There was a lot of wild punches being thrown. Nothing really landed over the course of the fight. Tyson Fury's defense is well and truly too good, and he's not a stationary target, so he's going to be very hard to hit, especially for Makhmudov. And lots of criticism is going to fall on Tyson Fury for today's performance. I didn't see it that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I saw Tyson Fury win every single round against Makhmudov, do what he had to do, and realistically, the whole entire time he was not really fighting against Makhmudov in a boxing match. He was just trying to get out of a clinch. I mean, the fact that the referee didn't deduct any points or stop Makhmudov from basically making that fight a wrestling match, like, it was just, all right, Makhmudov, let's see how close we can get to Tyson Fury. Let's grab onto him. Let's push him against the ropes. Let's just sabotage and spoil the whole entire action. That's all I saw from Makhmudov today. I didn't see any boxing from him. I didn't see anything. And when you're Tyson Fury and you're coming up against an opponent like that that's there to spoil, to sabotage, to hold on, to not allow a boxing match, I don't know how you expect Tyson Fury to excel in a boxing match. We're also looking at a guy that's been out of the ring for 15 months. He let himself go in that 15 months. He's coming back from retirement once again. And it's been a long time since we've even seen Tyson Fury win a fight. So to come out today against Makhmudov, who, for all intents and purposes, was a live dog for the first 4 or 5 rounds. After that, we all knew that it was going to be one way, and it was Tyson Fury's, but you still had to survive those opening few rounds. Makhmudov didn't bring as much in the first few rounds that I thought he would. And Tyson Fury strolls to a decision. I think he did some good bits of boxing anyway today. The work on the inside, you don't often see Tyson Fury doing lots of work on the inside, but I thought it was very good today. I mean, it was a terrible fight. All right, don't get me wrong, it was a terrible fight. You're never going back and watching it. Tyson Fury did just enough to win every single round, but realistically, he was beating a guy that wasn't doing anything apart from holding on the entire time. And what that tells us about Tyson Fury going forward, what that tells us about Tyson Fury right now, it wasn't really helpful. It doesn't tell us what sort of fighter Tyson Fury is at 37 years of age following 2 defeats to Alexander Usyk. All it told us was Tyson Fury's back. He got a few rounds in. He's looking healthy. I thought, like I said, I thought he did some good work on the inside, working to the body, a few short uppercuts, a few short hooks, but you were in there against a guy that's going to sabotage the action. You're in there against a guy that's going to spoil. I know people would say, well, Tyson Fury, you have to find a way. You have to, regardless of what the other guy's doing, you still got to do your work. And I can understand that as well. But for a guy that's been out of the ring for so long, come back, wins every single round, in my opinion, he didn't drop one. And Tyson Fury, for me, coming into this fight, I said he'd probably get a late stoppage, if not a unanimous decision victory, because Tyson Fury's never been that guy that's just got that one-hit wonder punch. He never puts you out with one punch. It takes a little bit to get going, and he'll get a TKO rather than a KO. And in a fight like this where the guy's holding on, your opportunity to land continuous amounts of punches to mount the action on him, it's very far in between. And I couldn't remember a time in that fight where we saw Tyson Fury actually able to show a minute and a half of constant boxing action because Makhmudov was just walking into him, grabbing hold of him, pushing him against the ropes. And some of that does have to fall on the referee for not saying, all right, mate, nobody's here's having any interest in this fucking fight. You're losing a point. You box, like, that's what we're here for. If you want to go and do wrestling, like I said, the UFC's later on today. All right, I think they're fighting at the Casey Center. Go over there, go compete with Curtis Blades. I don't give a shit. Like, today's action, it wasn't a boxing match between Tyson Fury and Makhmudov. Tyson Fury, like I said, had a few bits per round where he was able to box, where there was the distance between them, but he didn't exactly have a good counter partner. It doesn't completely let off Tyson Fury. Like I said, for me, this doesn't tell me whether he goes in there and beats Anthony Joshua, nor does it tell me he's going to lose to Anthony Joshua. So we're sort of stuck in the middle there. In terms of that Tyson Fury versus AJ fight, do I see it happening? I think if there's any point in time that I see it happening, it is in 2026/2027. The fact that Anthony Joshua was asked about this fight and he says, well, first we've got to go through contract negotiations and everything else. I want this fight, but does the other guy? And we see Tyson Fury in the ring screaming and yelling at Anthony Joshua that he wants to fight. We're all saying the right things. We saw Jerome Boutsanis and Virgil Ortiz get in the ring and do a face-off. That fight has not amounted, has it? So it's all well and good to say in front of a big crowd when you're hyped up, but when that contract hits the table and you get the offer, that's when we're going to see whether these two guys actually want the fight. I did initially think that Anthony Joshua would come out and have a sort of warm-up fight like Tyson Fury did today. From what he said, it didn't sound that way. It was more like, I'm ready to do it next. I'm not sure that's the best way to do it. I'd prefer Anthony Joshua to go in there with, honestly, I couldn't care less who it is. Just get some rounds in you. The thing about Tyson Fury is he did come out today, and although the fight was terrible and his performance probably wasn't up to speed, but his counterpartner wasn't there either, he did 12 rounds. He got that, back into the groove of boxing, whereas Anthony Joshua, we know what he's been through the past 12 months. We kind of want to see another fight, minus the Jake Paul one. Like that last time we saw him, that wasn't a boxing match either. So, yeah, I think we can see this fight, but I'd probably want to see Anthony Joshua in the ring again. Saying that, though, people might lose interest in Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua off the back of today's performance, because today wasn't anything special. Why am I going to give my time to this guy if that's the type of performance I'm going to see? Like I said, I justify it a little bit differently. I see it a little bit differently, but I can understand the people that look at it and say Tyson Fury was off today. Tyson Fury looked poor today, because I still think you can get work in against a guy that wants to fight on the inside. There is still opportunity. If we look at Richard Riakporhe and his fight, let's talk about that next against Jamie TKV. Jamie TKV basically came out and did the same thing. All he wanted to do was hold on to Richard Riakporhe, but Richard Riakporhe was able to separate and find that, distance to land a big shot, and initially drop Jamie TKV in the fifth and then land a few more, and the referee steps in and stops the fight. That's sort of what you sort of say about Tyson Fury, but I never look at Tyson Fury and say he has that power that Richard Riakporhe might have, or Fabio Wardley might have, or Daniel Dubois has. He's more of a stop this fight by the amount of punches, not stop this fight by one big punch. So let's talk about the other fights. Let's start with Justis Huni versus Frazier Clark. Majority decision victory, 95-95, 96-94 in favor of Huni, 96-94 in favor of Huni. And I saw it 97-93. That's my opinion. I saw it 97-93 in favor of Justis Huni. I don't have any qualms with it being 96-94. I didn't see it a draw, and I didn't see it a Frazier Clark victory. I thought it was a very competitive fight. It was probably the best fight of the night. Both guys had good few rounds in a row. Like, you probably give the first few rounds to Huni, then you give the next few to Clark, and then you go back to Huni, then you go back to Clark. So it was a very competitive and high-level fight, and it wasn't the one that I thought was going to be the best fight on this roster. I actually thought this one might have been the worst one. I thought they might cancel each other out. Frazier Clark looked very, very poor against Jamie TKV, but Frazier Clark dropping that bit of weight, he looked much, much better today. His gas tank lasted, but ultimately, Justis Huni was just the younger, quicker, more precise, and better boxer on the night, I thought. The work he did, being able to get in close and land 3 or 4 punches against Frazier Clark, the rips to the body constantly, like that left hook was constantly pestering Frazier Clark, and that was his method of victory. It was, let's get in close, ripped to the body, and then an uppercut or a hook with the right, and he just constantly did that over the course of the 10 rounds, and by the end of it, when you calculate, you just say Justis Huni did more work. He landed more punches. He threw more punches. He looked the more active. He had the better gas tank, and he just won that fight. It wasn't as though it was a landslide. It wasn't as though Fraser Clark wasn't competitive, but Justis Huni was just the better fighter tonight. And I thought it was going to be a little bit more one-sided to Justis Huni. I think Justis Huni's performance today wasn't as good as the one against Fabio Wardley, which, there's probably a little bit of worries there. There was also early in that fight where he gets hit with something from Fraser Clark and it sort of wobbles him, and that sort of brought back some memories of him being stopped by Fabio Wardley or almost losing to Kevin Lorena. So there is still some things that Justis Huni needs to work on, but each time he's coming out here and having these bigger nights, the Fabio Wardley one was a massive step up. This one here's a bit of a drop off from Fabio Wardley, but still a high level fight against an international opponent in Fraser Clark. They're very similar in terms of resume, and to win that fight anyway necessary is good for Justis Huni. And what's next for him, I'm not sure. To be honest, I didn't pick him taking on Fraser Clark next. So who he takes on next, I'm not sure. What level we see him at, I'm also not sure. I'm probably less confident in Justis Huni now than I was against Fabio Wardley. In fact, he lost to Fabio Wardley and beat Fraser Clark, so do that maths. But I thought the performance against Fabio Wardley was exceptional. He just gets caught. Today's performance was a little bit harder, a little bit more grittier, and wasn't as one-sided in favor of Fabio Wardley, but he was also probably against a more technical boxer than what Fabio Wardley was at that point. So for Justis Huni, a good victory, gets out of there by the skin of his teeth. And although I scored at 97-93, the scorecards were he just won it. And Fraser Clark is no bum, right? I think we look at Fraser Clark a bit weird. Like, he did have a very competitive fight against Fabio Wardley, and then gets demolished by Fabio Wardley, and then loses to Jamie TKV, but then does a very good performance today against Justis Huni, a very competitive fight. Whether that's because that Fraser Clark was always there and now it's just taken a new trainer to get that out of him, I'm not sure. But I think Justis Huni gets the win today, and going forward, he probably needs another Fraser Clark type level opponent. I probably wouldn't be sending him in there with a Nicoli or a Hrgovic or anything like that. I think he's not far from that, but I just want to see him another outing, go back to England, have another outing, and see where we are. I wouldn't be opposed to even seeing Justis Huni against, like a Jared Anderson type fighter. Richard Riakporhe wins TKO victory in the 5th over Jamie TKV. I mean, this fight was, once again, Jamie TKV, all he wanted to do was hold on for absolute dear life. Every time Richard Riakporhe got a little bit of separation, he was able to land that big right hand. He hit Jamie TKV quite a few times, and every single time he had either wobbled him, it dropped him once in the 5th, and then ultimately, the referee steps in and stops it. Not a lot to talk about in that fight. Jamie TKV looked very, very poor. For being the British heavyweight champion, he looked terrible. Makes me question what was wrong with Fraser Clark on that night that he lost to Jamie TKV. But Richard Riakporhe, I mean, he's grown into this heavyweight division. He's looking better and better every time we see him. And ultimately, the biggest talking point in this fight isn't really the fight, because not a lot happened. It was Richard Riakporhe trying to get separation to land punches, Jamie TKV holding on for dear life, and the referee stopping it too early. That is the biggest talking point. Was the referee stoppage wrong? For me, yeah, it was. I think you let it go just a little bit longer. Not too long, but realistically, Richard Riakporhe landed one. Jamie TKV still gets up, still looks like he's been able to be defensive. Yes, he's sort of up against the ropes, but Richard Riakporhe's big punches aren't really landing. I think you had to let Jamie TKV try and get himself out of that. And if he's unable to get it out of that, Richard Riakporhe can, polish the job and finish it off. And he didn't really let either of those things happen. He didn't give Jamie TKV a chance to hold on and continue out of that round. And if you compare that, I mean, Jamie TKV, the damage that he did to Fraser Clark late in that fight, that one should have been stopped. And this one here, we're looking at a stoppage that for me was well and truly too early. I don't know whether it would have changed the result, but I think you got to give him the chance. Jamie TKV wasn't as though he was completely out of it or dazed or just all over the place on giraffe legs. He was in that fight still, so I think you just had to let it go a little bit longer. That's where I would sit on that fight. Conor Benn beats Regis Prograis 98-92 times 3. This one here is the big talking point, isn't it? Because Regis Prograis, by the way, congratulations on a good career. You did become world champion. You did have some mega fights, and retires with a very big payday, I imagine. I think he got paid very well for that fight, and I believe he got paid even more because he came in the smaller fighter. Like, if you know what I mean, like he's a super lightweight fighting at 150. He said, "I'll fight at 150, but you got to pay me more." So Regis Prograis, if Conor Benn got 15 mil, I'm sure Regis Prograis got a good payday as well. But he ends his career unfortunately on a loss. Conor Benn 98 to 92 times 3. Very confident by Conor Benn. I think we were all expecting a stoppage today. Especially at the end of that first round where he sort of wobbles Regis Prograis with a straight right. You're thinking, yeah, this fight's not going to go the distance. But Regis Prograis, once again, you can't put this guy down. He's been in a lot of tough fights. Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, Devin Haney, and nobody's been able to put him away. And Conor Benn joins that. And you know what? This one's probably more surprising because we're talking about 150 pounds, and I thought he's not going to be able to handle the weight. But Conor Benn, I feel like Conor Benn is trying to become a boxer, and it's sort of working good and bad against him. You know, he's probably going to lose that wild, chaotic, powerful hitting that he was a few years ago, but he's becoming a more technical, composed, and controlling boxer. So I think you got to take the good with the bad. Today's performance, I was expecting more, if I'm being honest with you. The people that he's calling out, he's not going to beat off today's performance. I mean, Regis Prograis hit a left hook on him a few times in that fight, like very, very easily. And if you're looking at other people that he's calling out, I mean, Ryan Garcia, he's got a pretty good left hook. Shakur Stevenson, he's got a pretty good left hand as well. So if you're eating that many punches from Regis Prograis' left hand, I couldn't imagine what you're going to do against Shakur's left hand. So a few worries there, but ultimately he does dominate Regis Prograis. He does win majority of the rounds, and you're looking for a stoppage, but a victory like that works as well. I was surprised how easily Conor Benn cut, by the way, on both eyes. That's probably a worry going forward. I'm not sure what exactly cut him because I didn't think any of those punches were really cut-worthy punches. Whether it was a bit of headbang in between the two, I'm not sure. But Conor Benn's performance today is going to cop a lot of slack, and I can understand it. I think he should have been able to dispatch of Regis Prograis. Apart from the jab, nothing else really looked good today. I thought Conor Benn's jab was sharp, but he was unable to find the right hand continuously. Like, he missed a lot of big, powerful punches. And when you are a power puncher, the power punches only count if they land, and most of them today didn't land. So for Conor Benn, you've dropped back down in weight. You're fighting a guy close to your weight. But it was Regis Prograis who just had his last fight at 37 years of age and hasn't looked good in his last 3 fights. So when you look at it that way, it's even worse of a performance. But Conor Benn, if you're going to call out the big guys, go and take on the big guys. That's probably where I sit right now. I'd have a lot more respect for Conor Benn if he went in there and lost to Ryan Garcia or Shakur Stevenson, then I have respect for you calling them out and then taking on Regis Prograis. That's where I sit with Conor Benn right now. In terms of today's performance, he definitely won that fight by landslide. It wasn't close. He beat Regis Prograis majority of the rounds. There was a few times that he got caught, which are questionable, but I think the big question is why couldn't Conor Benn get Regis Prograis out of there, and what's going on with this shot that's not landing, because he sent it out a lot of times today, and you think when you're starting to work on your jab more and you're measuring with your jab, your power hand should be able to come through and land better, whereas it's almost worked backwards. It was almost his jab's improving, but the accuracy of his power is missing. So I think there's a few technical things for Conor Benn to work on. Of course, Conor Benn's never been the most technical fighter. You'd say Regis Prograis is a better boxer technically than what Conor Benn is, but Conor Benn being the younger, more energetic, more powerful, bigger fighter today, that's what got him over the line. But it's not going to get you over the line every single time, especially when you start taking on natural welterweighters. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. This has been a long video. I do apologize for no live. I had it scheduled. I had it all set out. And then my OBS and StreamYard just would not connect. I spent probably a good hour watching, like trying to fix the OBS, which put me back an hour of the live fight. So that's why this video is coming out late. It all sort of got delayed. So I do apologize. I'm going to try and fix it up. So the next time there's a good event on, I'll try again to do it. Like I said, there was no promises about the live. I did want to do it. This video has been longer to sort of supplement that and really talk about all the fights. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to talk about more of these fights during the week anyway. So I'm out of here, guys. See ya.